Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. The March of Time rolls on this week as we cover Peggy Sue Got Married from 1986. I'm your host, Adam Porcherson. Joining me today, he looks great for a corpse. Please welcome the Hartford Hellion, Sweet Shanza Kovacs from the internet.
She loves you, ooh, ooh, ooh.
Ooh, 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 ooh. And you had him at Time Burrito, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and chances are pretty good your mom liked this movie.
Oh, you bet your bottom dollar here, buddy boy, because today we are covering Peggy Sue Got Married from 1986. How did we come across this, you ask? That's good you asked that. I appreciate you asking, because you know what? We got here today because of the folks over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, and of course, get to vote on what we watch every single month. And this month here, no exception to it. It was a heated race, boys. I'm not going to lie to you. Heated race. Coming in at 14% was Tenet at the bottom there. Not too shabby. But at 18%, tied for 18% with Happy Death Day and Time After Time. Three-way tie. I'm so sorry. Three-way tie. Time Crimes, Happy Death Day, and Time After Time. All 18%. How about that? Very strange.
Wow.
But with a whopping 32% here, Peggy Sue Got Married, man. So rock and roll for that one.
Strong plurality.
Not too shabby here. So, everybody seemed to be in on that one. So we are covering that bad boy right here. And I'd never seen this one for whatever reason. Bruce mentioned that, your mom had seen it. This is probably one of her favorite movies. Strangely enough, my parents absolutely the demo for this movie. I can't say that I ever heard them say word one about it.
Oh, no.
Isn't that weird? You would have figured, but we'll get into all that kind of good stuff. But again, we want to thank those people for voting for this and all the other great things that they do over at patreon.com/HMP. You guys are very awesome. And check out our buddies that support us over on patreon.com. Check them out over the We Have Been Watching podcast. Yeah, Rob and Marty, those guys are pretty sweet. They cover things like Rebel Moon, Your Blue-Eyed Samurai, Saltburn, Wonka, tons of stuff, a lot of different variety and stuff out there. So do check out the what we've been watching podcast today. Find out who that Marty guy Sean always mentions is and what he's all about. So we appreciate those guys and thank them for supporting this show as well. And that's, hey, if you are as a Patreon supporter, patreon.com/HMP, we'll shout out your work, man. Just say hello, wave over our way, and just say, hey, man. And we'll let other folks know because we love you guys. Thank you so much for all that you do for us. Let's get into it, boys. Here's the IMDb plot line for Peggy Sue Got Married, as we all know. IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do. Peggy Sue faints at a high school reunion. When she wakes up, she finds herself in her own past just before she finished school. It's true, but that's kind of sloppily written, if I'm honest with you. Speaking of writing, this is written by Jerry Leching and Arlene Senner. What you've never heard of them before? Don't worry, they pretty much never really did anything else, which is strange. Thinking of this film now, I'm seeing it. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Not a movie I think a lot of people think about when they think about Francis Ford Coppola. I know people's mind straight goes to Jack mostly because it's
Jack. It's this. And I don't think he did anything else.
It's just the bangers that people remember. Let's be honest with ourselves here. That and a couple of wine commercials, I'm sure he shot a few
Godfather
of those.
3.
Yeah, that's the one I always associate with him.
I've still not seen that Godfather 3 recut thing or whatever. He's like this guy. He's like, God bless him. He's gone back to the well more times than Lucas and Spielberg ever have. So those two dudes could look at him and just be like, Francis is way worse than we are. So maybe
what's the name of Coppola's Vineyard?
I don't know. I'm sure it's got a fancy name. They all have weird little names, right?
Well, it's not his vineyard anymore.
Oh, did he sell? Well, he's sold everything a billion times. There's an American Zoetrope documentary that is fantastic. And the amount of times that Francis Ford Coppola has bought and sold his entire life on just credit that's in the air is amazing. He has given up so much, so many times and just put it on the line and go all right, we'll mortgage the house. We'll do this. We'll do that. The dude has put it on the line more than I think any filmmaker of his stature going through the years. But then again, we'll talk about the trajectory of his film career and stuff like that as we go on as well. And maybe we point out where things might have gone wrong. I don't know. But you guys had seen this one previously, yes?
Oh yeah, I saw it when it was VHS era. Like when it was the new release VHS.
Nice.
Me too.
Well, I had not, but let me get everybody, if you aren't like me, let me sell everybody on this final time travel movie in March, because this sucker's got everything. We got Kathleen Turner, -1 the overdrive. We got Nick Cage going to full throttle in 1986. And while he wouldn't go full throttle until a few years later, Jim Carrey is also in this movie. And wouldn't you know it, he's mugging in this film too. We got little Sofia Coppola playing the piano. Don, holy crap, that guy was in everything Murray. Speaking of Dons, Don Stark is here. Isn't he just the American Stephen Graham? Like if Stephen Graham was all fat and rude and, well, American, I think so.
Maybe.
We got Helen Hunt playing the daughter of a man who is a year younger than her. We got,
oh my gosh.
We got old age makeup passing out while looking at cake. The story Bruce Leslie knows all too well. Trippy prom lights from Brian De Palma's Carrie. The what if of It's a Wonderful Life. The nostalgia of Back to the Future, but for boomers this time. Underage drinking, dancing on bars, furniture liquidation, doo-wop singing, poetry reading, inventing, and of course a lodge time travel ritual, which is what I imagine all lodges are up to. And we've got, of course, Francis Ford Coppola. Since 1972, your boy has been banging The Godfather, The Conversation, The Godfather Part 2, Apocalypse Now. If he stopped right there, what a life. But FFC, nah, man, he kept going. Just after the Cotton Club and Captain EO, FFC would take on what I think may be, and we might be here to argue this today, this may be Francis Ford Coppola's last great movie. This movie has everything.
I'm not arguing.
Because I look back and I'm just like, that was one thing that I was thinking this whole time. Is like, when did it go wrong? What happened? I got Jim Lee Glick there real fast. What happened? How did you screw it all up? And I don't know that I completely know the answer for that. I think he had too good of a career going off, like I said, from 72 on, the guy just hit nothing but homers for, 8 years.
And frequently, I'd say frequently, I forget that Nicolas Cage is his nephew.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy for me to forget that he was Nicolas Coppola. But, I pretty much read that. Are we going to go ahead and talk about Coppola for a minute?
Yeah, let's do. Because he's a major portion of this for sure.
He was like a director for hire on this. Like, this wasn't his project. This wasn't something he was attached to initially. Jonathan Demme was the original person attached to this with Deborah Winger, which for somehow in 1985 when they were working on this, they thought going from Demme and Winger to Coppola and Turner was a step down. But I think with the test of time, they're probably, at least Kathleen Turner's a more recognizable face. I'd say Coppola's a more recognizable name to your average person these days than Demme.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say so. Ultimately, all the right moves ended up happening here. It is an odd one for Francis Ford Coppola to be doing, but at least that there's somebody behind the camera that's very astute with everything. He knows exactly what's going on. I don't think so. Let me look at the credits here. I don't think Walter Murch is with him editing at this point. No, it is not. Barry Macklin. So he doesn't have his main editor on there, so that's where I like watching it. I was just like, ooh, this does not feel Walter Murchy to me, because that guy edits to where like the title of his book, In a Blink of an Eye. It is just like, it is every time your eye blinks, that is like a different cut and stuff. Do yourself a favor and read that book if if anybody's into the editing game. Walter Murch's book is beautiful.
And according to I don't know if it's Hollywood urban legend or whatever, but in order to get Nick Cage to do this film, Coppola had to promise not to really give notes on some of his performance choices, which as a result made Kathleen Turner just miserable, because she definitely didn't like that like high-pitched nasal voice he did when he was a teenager.
It is really interesting to see the choices that Nick Cage is making in this movie, but at the same time too, it really grounds you in as much as he's been doing this forever. So y'all can't be like, oh, he just turned this on. No, Nick Cage is an original, I think. You know what I mean? That dude came out just being a little bit different than everybody else. And I think he thrives on it, but like you see it here. The kid's like, 20 years old or whatever, and he's doing the exact same thing that he would do. When he walked down those stairs, that initial walk down the stairs, that was one of the most Nick Cage things I've ever seen in my entire life. Him just
Does
like
he get
sauntering down the
fired
stairs.
from? Does he get fired from this movie, Nicolas Cage, if Uncle Frank isn't the director?
No,
I don't think he even gets the movie in the first place. I don't think he agrees to do it. But he does not give this performance if Uncle Frank's not the director, though. I mean, he was really pissing off Kathleen Turner to the point. Let's talk about how their relationship went. He pissed her off to the point that she accused him of kidnapping a Chihuahua, which he took her to court for defamation of character, and she had to publicly apologize and confess that he did not indeed kidnap a Chihuahua. She just said that because she hated him so much.
that makes sense.
Wow.
Nick Cage just has that kind of thing where we'll just make up whole claw stories.
There's two actors in Hollywood that I believe would kidnap a Chihuahua, and Nick Cage is one of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who do you think the other one is, Adam?
Oh, Nick Cage. So if we're looking at Nick Cage and we're also looking at what's his face here, Mickey Rourke.
Yes, that's it. Because I know of his fondness for small dogs.
Mickey Rourke and Nick Cage on a miniature dog heist movie. I'd watch it. Not gonna lie. He's good. Like, it's Cage's performance in this movie is kind of astounding because he is skating on such a razor's edge. Because he is always just kind of peering over the side of going over the top and too much. And the second that he does, he pulls it back just a little bit and you see a little bit of the humanity of that character. It's kind of wild what he's doing.
And some more like the behind the scenes rumors are that they were doing 20 hours a day, 6 days a week to get this done on time because that's what Coppola had to do to have final cut.
Oh, so it just needed to be fast and stuff. So because this movie you don't need to shoot particularly fast unless you're under some kind of constraint like that.
But 20-hour days probably don't help any kind of tension on set either.
No,
I mean, I'm just guessing. I've never, I go to sleep after 12 hours even if I'm flying an airplane. I'm sorry.
So what did you guys think about like the old age makeup? Too much? Not enough? Does it look kind of crappy? What do you
I say not enough. I didn't even really notice it so much.
I didn't on the initial, especially with like Nick Cage, because I hate to tell these people, they got pretty close to what Nick Cage looks like older age. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not too far off.
I had no problems with Nick, but I felt like Kathleen Turner looked too young for 1985, 1986, and too old for 1960. Like she just didn't quite work for me in either role.
No, she's got a particular look about her that plays her age. Doesn't necessarily play too much over or under. She kind of plays her. Does that make sense?
And when I think of accomplished adult actor who could play a believable teenager, I mean, everything in my mind about Kathleen Turner's almost like the last of those elegant old Hollywood studio actress stars. Like nothing about her says child to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and at this point, I think she's like 8 or 10 years older than Nick Cage. So, like, that's the thing. Most of these guys were pretty young. Like Nick Cage and Jim Carrey are pretty much the exact same age. I think she's probably one of the older cast members on this show. But
I know she's 70 now, so you can do the math and figure out how old she was then.
I'm not mathing. You don't ask me to math.
Yeah, me either. It's like 40 years ago, so she was 30 at the time, 30 something at the time.
But
she's at least 30.
Yeah. But you don't look at that and go like, ooh, high school. But that is also...
That's not the point. That's also not the point. You guys are totally missing the point of her, which is that this movie is not a movie without Kathleen Turner. Like, this movie it's not nearly, not that it's not a movie. It's not nearly the movie it is with anyone else in this role. Like,
I 100% agree that if this is made with Deborah Winger, we're not talking about it on the show right now.
Yeah, I think that, Kathleen Turner has a certain gravitas to her. I mean, back then, she had a certain gravitas to her where she just adds so much to a movie. I mean, everybody loves Michael Douglas in Romancing the Stone. But Romancing the Stone isn't that movie without Kathleen Turner. Like there's this era of Kathleen Turner. There's something magical about her, and I think that she doesn't need to play a high school kid. She doesn't need to play somebody who is being like in the middle of a divorce. She needs to play Kathleen Turner in the middle of a divorce. She needs to play Kathleen Turner going back in time in her own body. Like and because you hire Kathleen Turner to get her, it's
Right.
like she's like the female Gene Hackman.
I bet she loves to be introduced at parties as that.
Lady Hackman.
Hello.
Yes.
I loved, let me course correct. I loved this movie. The problem is my own like problems with this generation of people. It angers me so much that I can't even watch movies about them anymore because this movie is beautifully shot. It's well acted. Nicolas Cage is out there dancing on the raggedy edge with his crazy performance, which is you can just watch all day. Seeing a prepubescent Jim Carrey in the movie is great, but this is the generation that destroyed this country, and it's all I think of when I see this stuff. It started happening to me when I watched Forrest Gump, and I was like, "Oh, right, this is the generation that destroyed our country." Right, exactly. and now it's happening with things that I liked previously, like this movie, and it's like, oh no, my own mental crap is getting in the way of my own enjoyment. So I saw this movie again, and I really was like, oh, that's literally what the problem is that I'm being tainted by my own, correct thoughts on this generation of Americans that destroyed our country.
Did you really like this movie back in the time it was released? I'm not talking about now, but at the time it was released.
I did, because back then what I liked about it was that the way that they dealt with time travel was basically that she can't do anything about it. Like she tries to make all these changes and there's nothing she can do. And as a kid, I found that interesting because it was like, everybody thinks that if they ever go back in time, they're going to change this and this and this. But the fact of the matter is things are still going to happen. And I liked that from when I was a kid. And I also liked the other part was the water buffalo or whatever they call themselves.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie.
That always gave me, for some reason, a Rosemary's Baby vibe.
Oh.
Yeah, no. All of a sudden, it's just like we'll get you back to your time. All you have to do is drink this elixir.
Yeah, that one as a kid creeped me out a little bit. It gave me like a Rosemary's Baby vibe. But for me, as a young person, when this came out, I watched it. I liked it. Like I said, my mom liked it more than I did, because my mom, roughly Kathleen Turner's age, and also she married a POS and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So. But for me, it was just so overshadowed by Back to the Future. I mean, so overshadowed that this might be the third time I've seen this movie, maybe the fourth. But when I was a kid, if I had the chance to watch Peggy Sue Got Married for the third time or Back to the Future for the 25th, I'm the kind of guy who's going to watch Back to the Future. But I did get excited about it because I did like Buddy Holly when I was a kid. So the title did lure me in for that first watch. And Buddy Holly, Lubbock, Texas. I'll give a shout out to Matthew Vandiver, because he's also a child of Lubbock, Texas.
Oh, yeah. What I liked the idea that, again, like everybody, Back to the Future is going to be your quintessential time travel movie. Let's just face it. Yeah. And with that, the cool part about that movie is that as Marty, as audience surrogate and everything, he's going back to a time that he is not familiar with and everything. So it is this great fish out of water story and everything. This is not that. We are bringing this character. Not only is this character going back to that particular time, you're going back to that exact same body and everything that you were previously. So as far as time travel and that kind of stuff goes, that changes the game completely, because you're not just an outsider at that point. You are yourself with not only with all of your knowledge of the future and everything as well. So cool angle there. They don't go, but like you said, it's nice that they don't strive too far into the like, hey, we're making big changes. But the idea of the kind of your life as a choose your own adventure book, if you will, that you could go back and look and go like, oh, well, what if we went down this way? What if we went down this alley instead of that alley, and things like that. And that's where it gets that. This feels like Francis Ford Coppola again. Like I said, giving that Back to the Future, It's a Wonderful Life, all of those things kind of wrapped up within this nostalgia bubble.
And it's a more metaphysical time travel than a scientific time travel,
right?
And I think that helps separate it just a little bit, but. It does play around with that little bit at the end. Was this all just a dream or not? But they try to answer that question for us.
It's fun enough.
You know, they also do. They're also tackling different subjects, right? I mean, the whole point of Back to the Future is if you went back in time, would you be friends with your parents? But what they're going after with Peggy Sue Got Married is basically time travel as a regret machine. You know, like let's change all of the bad choices I made in high school.
And I will admit that I may be way off. I'm like not trying to argue with you, just offering a different point of view. But I feel like Back to the Future resonated with me because it's like, hey, if one of us Gen X kids could go back and slap our boomer parents around, our lives would be better in the future. Where this is like the boomer goes back in time and realizes, you know what? No notes. Everything I did was perfect.
Yeah.
Like it is definitely a generation war here between those two movies.
Well, it's interesting because like I and again, little separated here, but like I thought of this a lot like also the same way that I think about a movie like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, whose ultimate goal is basically saying, listen, the things in your life happen for a reason. They built you and made you into the person that you are. As much as you would think that you would like to change those things and delete those things from ever existing, those things are the reason that you are who you are at this particular moment. And I feel like this leaned a little more into that because, and especially, you know, of 1986 and everything, it's a little tougher to be like, all right, you need to just, you know, burn everything that you know. Now, today that would be the movie, you know, like you don't need no man, you don't need no house, you know, all that, whatever. But like this time, you still got to kind of stay in that lane a little bit, I think.
And I might have missed it, but I feel like never once did she say, but you know, I've got my daughter and I'm so grateful for her. In traditional boomer style, when she's away from home, she's not thinking about her kids. They
did mention like they have one mention, and you're right that there was
they do mention it
just once though. It's throwaway enough to be like, oh yeah, didn't we have children? That's right. Maybe I should, because it is what you're doing right
time
there.
Travel was latchkey back then.
Yeah, it's like did we not learn anything from the Back to the Future 2 years ago, everybody? Because this is what happened. It's like you start going and then oops, your existence has been erased because you screwed up in the past there. But again, I like the idea sometimes that, you know, in that time travel that it's going to loop back around to figure out, you know, exactly where we're supposed to be anyways, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But even I like that, even though not being somebody who's like, oh, we're all, you know, particularly predestined to do X, Y, and Z. I don't particularly believe that, but you know,
I do like it that the height of her time travel ambition was just like, let's rip off the Beatles somehow. That was it. There's no sporting events. There's no inventing an actual invention. It's like, we'll just discover the Beatles. Like, it's that easy.
No, okay.
She also wanted to bang that brooding kid that was on the track team, and she did accomplish that.
Success, yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, if you look back,
it worked out just like
the thing that you would want to do is be just a little bit more promiscuous. Everyone looks back and goes, "That was probably a good decision." but that's I at least like that. You know, I don't status quo. I know that sounds so stupid, but like there's something quaint and nice though for me about, you know, everything kind of, you know, like a burrito wrapping around and just touching the end there and just going, there you go. It's just kind of the same old, we're back to zero at the end of it. It's not quite a Martez Sisters episode, but you know, it is what it is.
Pretty close.
I just wish I'd been like the artsy guy in this movie and got the idea of like, hey, let's marry two women who'll work all day long to pay for me to sit home and write.
Oh man, that was I just, there's so much about that I love, but that's another cool part about this. And I think that they could kind of if they redid this or something akin to this, that they could get into that. But that whole, I am an older person in this younger person's body sitting in this time frame now. And I'm going, oh my God, who is this? What is this person? You're over here talking about this crap. And like, you realize, hey, maybe the thing that I had romanticized, in my mind back in the day, maybe that wasn't exactly as cool as we all thought it was actually going to be. And for
I'm
her,
just hoping it's near the end of senior year, so everybody's 18.
You just got to make sure. Yeah. Like
don't need no Twilight stuff going on here.
Today, everyone would just be going, now it is that my 18th birthday this past weekend, I am now. Everything is A-okay. I'm like, oh boy. They don't do that on HBO though, I don't think. Go ahead.
Do you think they cast Helen Hunt because of that one line where the line at the reunion where somebody says, oh, geez, I don't know if they're sisters or mother and daughter. Do you think that they cast her on purpose because she does look like she's older than Kathleen Turner in this movie?
It's weird because they do. They look so close and similar and everything. But I wish they would have just done a little bit more in the makeup department. I know, Dick Smith is probably pretty busy at this point, but find somebody that can give you a little bit of, crow's feet.
Helen Hunt has the number for the guy that did the makeup on Trancers. So she could get him over there.
Yeah. I mean, it could be better than this, which is just like, little bit of makeup under the eyes. But that, not even that really. At least Nick Cage, look, it's funny because he mentions Klaus Kinski all the time, but you clearly realize that man is modeling himself after that dude. When you look at like what he looks like in this film, you're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
It's what the man's doing, quite frankly. He's kind of just ripping him off his entire career, if we're honest. But at least he admits it. At least he just goes like, hey, I'm just trying to be the American version of that. I'm like, all right, fair enough.
Just without the accent, that's all.
Until pistols get pulled out in the dressing room, he's failed.
Hey, listen, man, I really wish and hope that we could get an, maybe not honest. I don't know that honest is the right word, but I'd like to see a Nicolas Cage autobiography. Give us some stories, man. I feel like that dude, look, because I've heard him in some interviews and stuff, and he is fascinating, but I also am sure that he's an insane person, and I want to see that written down in a book form.
And I think the problem for me would be if his autobiography was 100% true, nothing fabricated in the whole thing, I still wouldn't believe it was 100%.
Yeah.
True,
No, of course not. You would think it would be totally. He's be coming up with stuff about leprechauns, and you'd be like, that stuff you'd probably believe. Any other kind of like, the nerd guy? I was not aware of Barry Miller. But
yeah, I just learned about him this week.
This dude was killer, probably one of the better actors in this entire thing, and but it's subtle. He's not doing a ton, but he's doing it so well.
Did he do other stuff?
I did a little movie called Saturday Night Fever and Fame and The Last Temptation of Christ.
Yeah, but he wasn't the man in any of those. But he did
he is in Fame.
Those are basically all just retellings of this movie. So
he was big in Fame though, so you got that.
Yeah,
going.
he's one of the main characters in that.
I prefer the television show.
You would.
No, I'm joking. I haven't really seen Fame recently enough to remember anything about it, other than telling the girl to put her thumb in her mouth at the end of the movie.
It's a good song. Definitely grant you that. As far as like I said, it's so weird. What do you guys think happened to Coppola over the years? Because I really have the theory that like he's just kind of gone in the opposite direction that you would hope somebody's career would go. You would hope that they'd kind of start off and then just go up that hill and then get to that final point there and then start going down. He started at the top of the hill for the most part.
He didn't start.
You know what I mean? There's relatively speaking.
And I could be wrong. I don't know nothing about the guy. I'm no expert. I'm just a guy who sits at home and watches movies, right? That's all I'm claiming to be, is just a watcher. But I feel like was never really auteuristic, never an auteur who wrote his own screenplays and made his own projects. He was always adapting something from somebody else. He, just kind of brought on to do something. And I think that might be part of why, you start real high because you're adapting a really good source material, and then it just kind of dwindles when you don't have like, it's kind of like what movie he's given is what movie he's going to give back.
I think he's also a very big collaborator, Francis Ford Coppola. Because if you look at his films and the people that he ends up collaborating with on those things, for the most part, he tends to use a lot of the kind of same people and stuff over and over again until some of these later ones. And then I think he got difficult. I think he got difficult and people stopped liking to work with him a little bit.
Well, the big one with him is the money, right? Like he will flush all of your money down a toilet and he doesn't care. And so that's one of the issues with him. Also, he will go as far. He will. The movie will take as long as it takes to make. He's one of those guys too. Mm-hmm. And so that's 2 strikes against him right there. 3 is that he wasn't ever able to save himself by writing his own stuff, as was alluded to earlier. You know, I think that a lot of people, a lot of auteurs, when it comes to directing, they're able to get themselves out of a jam. Like, look at M. Night Shyamalan. Like, M. Night Shyamalan would never have directed another movie ever if it weren't for the fact that he was able to write. And some would say poorly, some would say he's spotty. But the other thing with Coppola, and I really believe this, is that it seems like he takes movies off. You know, like you'll be watching a movie that's like a Francis Ford Coppola movie, and there's some movies where you're like, man, this guy is on fire right now. Like with this movie is beautifully shot. It's wonderful. But then you look at something like let me take a look here. Let's say The Rainmaker. Like he made that movie, and you know he's basically sleepwalking through that thing.
Is that a Matt Damon film?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, making sure I'm thinking of the right movie. Okay.
It's based on a Grisham book, so again, it's like somebody else did all the legwork for you.
I remember thinking it looked like high quality network TV. I know that's not a compliment necessarily, but that's just my memory. I haven't seen it in a long time.
It's an all right film, but it's all right.
And Adam, I do forget there is one movie. I wouldn't say it's great, but at least he's swinging for the fences with it, which is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
I love that movie, by the way.
That movie isn't great. It's just good, but he really is swinging for the fences with that one. Like he put his entire heart and soul into making that thing great.
I love some of the decisions that were made. It is not a good movie. I would say it's not necessarily even an okay movie, but I love it because that is somebody who loved something and tried to do it. You know what I mean? And I enjoy the decisions, although I'm also aware, like, if somebody says they don't like it, I'm not going to argue with them the way I would, like, what are you talking about? You don't like it. Like, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I get it, but I love it.
It's
all the effects are practical.
Yeah. It's like Coppola's
Keanu Reeves British accent, impeccable.
It's, hey man, what are you talking about? That was honestly, I think in high school, like just as The Matrix came out, like no one really knew what The Matrix was at that point. And it was because it was a Keanu Reeves movie. Keanu Reeves was a joke at that point. So people would come in and like all we could think of was Bram Stoker's Dracula and him just going like, hey, it's not real, dude. And that's what we would just say to like the guys who saw The Matrix and were just like blown away by it. And we didn't know what it was. So we were just like, it's not real. We had no clue what that meant even at that point. But that was all taken from Bram Stoker's Dracula, that whole vibe and stuff. So things change.
And I know this isn't the Bram Stoker's Dracula podcast here, but I mean, I just love the wardrobe choices when old man Count Dracula's in like the kimono with the weird double bun hair. I mean, what kind of acid trip led them to think that this? I mean, it's definitely a way Dracula's never looked on film before.
Oldman in his tiny little glasses and the top hat and everything. Yeah. It's
and between Bela Lugosi and Max Schreck with Nosferatu, it's hard to come up with a unique vision of Dracula, and they managed to do that.
Yeah, and so much so that you can even make it like that and do it on The Simpsons then, and then it becomes like another level of iconography because Mr. Burns then as Bram Stoker's Dracula as Gary Oldman. It's like friggin' wild. I love that. But yeah, not a great movie though. You watch it, you're like, what is this? What are we doing here? I mean, I guess we're trying.
Forever long.
It's so long.
Forever long.
Oh man, I saw it at the Huntington Mall and I loved it.
But yeah, I'm just it's always surprising how his kind of career here has waned, and I always want him to do something else. I want him to have that one final thing where we all just go like, "Good for you, old man. Let's send you off on one more."
It's coming because he put his money where his mouth is, and he sold wineries so he could fund Megalopolis, and it's shot and in the can and done.
Oh, I didn't know it was shot already. That's good.
Oh yeah,
I'm
they
gonna
shot
go out
here.
there and say I might be a weirdo or something, but I'm not a fan of that title.
He's had it. He's had the idea forever. He's been saying he was going to do this for 20 years, 25 years.
At least.
He finally pulled the trigger.
So is he picturing like a spiritual sequel to Metropolis?
I have no idea. I don't know anything about it.
I'll definitely
Here's
check it out.
Here's the IMDb logline. An architect wants to rebuild New York City as a utopia following a devastating disaster. Now get this cast. Giancarlo Esposito, Aubrey Plaza, Adam Driver, Shia LaBeouf, James Remar, Dustin Hoffman, John Voight, Jason Schwartzman, Lawrence Fishburne, D.B. Sweeney, Talia Shire. Like this, man, you got
a comedy?
Pretty. I don't know. This would be a pretty stacked cast, though. I mean, listen,
I'll check it out for sure.
I will watch, but
as long as it's not 3.5 hours long, I'll check it out.
Did you? I don't know many people even know this, but just to give you like people that may not have heard this one before, but Coppola had a weird thing. Let me try to remember. I want to say this was like 2009. I think this was the movie. Was it Tetro? I think that was the movie.
Yeah, Tetro.
Where Francis Ford Coppola kind of four-walled the movie around and would do like essentially live edits for a show. I'm to understand that I don't think he did this many times, but like there was some sort of like almost we'll re-edit some things as the movie is going or something. I don't like it was just the weirdest thing I'd ever heard of, and I was just like, how are you even pulling this off? So like,
I'm totally unfamiliar.
The guy has always kind of tried to do weird and crazy things and stuff, but like you got to respect somebody that just goes like, we'll just put up the house and we'll just do this and stuff. It's crazy and insane thing to do, but when it works. Boy, you get like when it does work at its tops, you get Apocalypse Now. You know what I mean? Where it's like none of this should work. All of it should have fallen apart. There's zero reasons why this movie should have seen its completion. But this insane maniac got to that point. And so
and I'm not
always
saying
have that.
I'm not saying it's necessarily the best movie he made, because I do like Godfather 2 the best. But I think Apocalypse Now is his best directing achievement from a guy who doesn't really know much about that kind of stuff.
I really like The Conversation.
Conversation's great.
I haven't seen that one, so I can't really comment.
The Conversation is to like American cinema what Blow Up was for French cinema. So it's like we're using audio here as opposed to a picture, which is really cool. And then, and then De Palma would later do that with Blowout and stuff. So like there's so many like great little things that they've picked from other little bits of cinema and stuff like that. And I say what you will about the Boomer generation. Some like they've been really great at jazzing together all of their bits that they liked when they were kids and growing up and everything, and take that and been able to mold that into some pretty decent entertainment over the years, I'd say.
So, and some of them just listen to the same 40 songs that they've been listening to for 60 damn years.
Yeah. Sometimes you do want to go, all right, Martin, I realize that I like the Stones as well, but they have more than 6 songs, you know. They got
give me Shelter. We get it,
They got a lot of really great banger, deep cut Stone songs that you could absolutely pull and put in. Please do that.
There's nothing wrong with living in your own bubbly comfort zone, but please don't drag my ears into it.
Yeah.
Is that a fair way to say that?
Yeah, we don't need
if you're going to do that, well, here, let me buy some AirPods, whatever.
We're going into Vietnam. What CCR song do you think we're playing?
Exactly.
It's like, okay.
Exactly.
Okay. And don't get me wrong. I like that song. I love me some CCR. I don't need to see it in another Vietnam movie, though. I don't need it.
I would love people just to subvert expectations. The helicopters are flying in over the swamp, and all of a sudden you're hearing raindrops keep falling on my head.
That would be awesome. I love juxtaposition-y little stuff like that. If you end like a horror movie with like an upbeat, like, you know, do 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 do. I love that kind of stuff where they just show all the aftermath, but it's fun singing music or something like that. That stuff's great to me.
I think that's, oh man, we're going way far afield here, but I think that's part of what made the Clockwork Orange movie work for me, was some of that musical juxtaposition.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But yeah, I will say this, not outside of a couple of little tiny things, this doesn't, I think it's probably a budgetary thing, doesn't have nearly as many needle drops as one might suspect that this would be, because you obviously are getting a little bit of a little American graffiti in there as well, just a little smidge of that in there, but it's not nearly as jukeboxy as all of that, and I feel like that's probably got to be due to money, right? You would think?
Yeah, because you would expect a Buddy Holly soundtrack to a movie called Peggy Sue Got Married, right? But I mean, other than the opening credits, I don't know that they even play the titular song.
They do when she's walking up for her award and everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the guy playing Buddy Holly would play Buddy Holly in a movie like 2 years later. So that guy got typecast real fast. No, not Busey, sadly enough. I'll tell you what, brother.
Man, I love that I live in a timeline where Buddy Holly and the Ginger Dead Man, same actor.
What a glorious world we live in. Well, before we get to our final review, we have to find out how this time traveling movie relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement. Oh, you. I look just like Buddy Holly, Mr. Stallone. And this week's movie review is Peggy Sue Got Married, a movie that has a lot of famous people in it. So you'd think that finding a connection to you would be relatively easy. But I had a bit of trouble on this one. The person I landed on this week is actor Barry Miller, who plays outcast turned millionaire Richard Norvik in Peggy Sue Got Married. Barry Miller is one of those actors who's never made it onto my radar, but when you see the work he put out in the late 70s and early 80s, it makes me ask two questions. One, why isn't this guy more famous? And two, what actually happened to this guy? So to answer the first question, why isn't this guy more famous? We've got to look at his career. Barry Miller worked on a bunch of television until 1977, when he got his first huge break on the movie Saturday Night Fever, where he played Bobby C., one of Travolta's friends in the movies. It's not hard to see why he didn't get a lot of attention for that. Travolta is all you see when you're watching that movie. But his next movie is the movie Fame, where Barry Miller plays Ralph, which should be where he makes the turn to famous because he's one of the breakout characters in that movie. And honestly, man, I am all over the place here. Fame is also where Barry Miller gets a reputation for being difficult on set. He fought with the director of Fame, Alan Parker, constantly. He would go on to perform in big movies like Peggy Sue Got Married and The Last Temptation of Christ. And after 1988, he drops off the map. He'll do a How Do You Do on Ally McBeal here. He'll show up on an episode of Arliss there. But then after 2003, he doesn't even do that anymore. We're almost 25 years after Barry Miller's last on-screen appearance, which leads us to the next question. What happened to this guy? And I think I have an answer. Barry Miller won a Tony for his role in Biloxi Blues, where he's worked on stage the entire time. In January of this year, he was involved in the play Born with Teeth, which was at the Austin Playhouse. So being involved with stage, being a royal pain in the ass, people stopped calling Barry Miller. This is just me guessing. Maybe he decided he hated acting in movies and television. Maybe the same thing that happened to Brendan Fraser happened to him, and he wasn't a big enough name to Me Too, the guy that banned him. I don't really know, but that's my guess. But the reason why Barry Miller is this week's Stallone connection is because in 1977, Barry Miller was on an episode of Kojak, a show that they keep trying to remake and failing each time. And you also guest starred on Kojak, Mr. Stallone, which I'm thankful for, because now I have this week's Stallone connection. And there you have it. This week's Stallone connection is Barry Miller. I hope to hear from you soon. Your pal, the Hartford Hellion.
I could see him doing a good job as the lead in Biloxi Blues. He'd be good at that role.
I could see him screaming at people going, I was on an episode of Arliss in 1998. Just getting real mad because, you know, Things have fallen off. No, it's fine though. Well, let's get down to it. Here at HMP, we have our own patented Robin rating system. Bruce, where does Peggy Sue Got Married fall on the Robin rating system for you?
It disappointed me because I hadn't seen it in a while, and I was kind of looking forward to watching it again, having a little flashback to my childhood or whatever. But to me, it's more like your Damian Wayne. Like Sean has said, it's shot beautifully, so there's plenty to enjoy here. The story just started to drag. I felt like in the end, nothing really happened, which is kind of the point. It's more of a character study. I struggle sometimes with emotional stuff, so it didn't really connect with me like it would with some other folks. So I'm just going to give it the Damian Wayne middle of the road.
All right, Sean, what do you got?
Damian Wayne for me also. I used to really like this movie, but boomers ruined the country, and now they ruined this movie for me. So thanks, boomers. Damian
I'm glad you
Wayne.
agreed with me. I was worried I was way off from it. I was almost afraid to give my rating.
No.
For me, first time out, I am, and I don't know what you know about me. Soft touch this guy over here. So I liked it. I liked this movie a whole bunch. You get some Misty in it. Like again, I'm a little baby. But no, a lot of it, a lot of this movie just kind of worked for me. That idea of going back, and I love that, she threw off a whole bunch of like different things to just go, you know what, I'm going to go meet my grandparents. I'm going to go talk to my grandparents and just, find out something about them. Because, and again, like seeing her sister and all that kind of stuff, there's just a lot of like, if you could go back and, because like imagine you go back in time and there was a dead relative that, you can finally sit down and, have a big giant conversation with and everything. Really, really cool. Is it utterly amazing? No. Is it one of the top time travel movies? We could call it a sleepy movie. It's a dreamy, perhaps. But no, I like it well enough for all of those things. And I'm glad the people over at patreon.com/HMP recommended it. I'm going to go, I'm going Tim Drake. Tim Drake on this one.
I will say, I think it's Sofia Coppola's best performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to go for any other, and I'm like, no, we love you behind the camera. She's great behind the camera. I don't know, great behind the camera.
I'm guessing she actually was like about a 16-year-old girl, because she's pretty convincing as like the kids that I'm around with my kids in high school and stuff. She really had that little sister vibe.
She looked like that, and there were a couple of people that at least looked close enough to the age. And I will say this:
would you believe she looked 2 or 3 years younger than Kathleen Turner?
All of these people, like again, Helen Hunt, a year older than Nick Cage. So but Nick Cage is just so great in this because he is giving 1,000% of just what an awkward and weird performance. And given a lot of his early work and not really knowing who this guy could, it's wild how he had a career. Like, because he's just so different and strange, and that like in the wrong hands, he just goes nowhere and just becomes a nobody. But thank God your uncle is Francis Ford Coppola.
I was going to say,
right?
There might be a million Nicolas Cages out there. They just all never got a second call. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fair enough.
Yeah, everybody needs an Uncle Frank.
Oh man, I just like, all I can think of right now is just Nicolas Cage's modern style, which is just glorious. Him and his weird leather jackets that are all just strange colors with, Rolex like watches that are worth,
the pink jacket with the Superman thing on it. I love that.
Yeah. But at the same time, there's part of me that just goes, God bless. You get jealous. You're jealous that you have enough, whatever, to go out looking like that and just being Nick Cage and be like, this is what I am doing. God bless. Not for me, but God bless.
Yeah. I'm very jealous that my family would probably starve if I decided to go with Nick Cage's attitude towards life.
No, but you could do his fashion choices, and that I think your family might get behind that. Just
I can just do it around the house and at pool parties and stuff, but not at work.
Well, you never know. All right, that'll do it for this episode of HMP. We'll talk about what we're doing next week in just a moment. Bruce, what can we plug for this week?
You know what? just keep checking out my YouTube channel. There's lots of fine classic anime reviews from a couple years ago. I'm going to put more stuff up there eventually, but it's just a matter of doing it, but please go check out Anime Dad on YouTube, youtube.com/C/Bruce Leslie. Just go check it out. There's plenty of old fun stuff on there too.
He got things cooking. Sean, what would happen if, say, a Disney were to launch another Star Wars show?
Well, that show is called The Acolyte, and that is going to be our newest 30 Questions show, 30 Questions podcast, where we ask 30 questions of something. Sometimes it's a Marvel show, sometimes it's a Star Wars show. This happens to be a Star Wars show. So check that out when that lands in June.
I think so, somewhere along there. Not too awful long. So, yeah, get into the 30 Questions format and check all that stuff out. Did you see the trailers? Or trailer,
yeah.
I suppose.
Oh yeah, I sure did.
Looked interesting. I don't know. Like I think we all go into Star Wars these days with a handful of trepidation.
I think this is I honestly think this is the last one of that. That because the new mandate came down, like be better. I think this is the last of the former school of like we need to get out a new Star Wars every year. Like I think this is the last one of those. So. Maybe it's great. The only thing that really kind of makes me think that it might be okay is that the creator of the show was asked, do you think diehard Star Wars fans will like this? And she responded with, I really don't care. And so that
that's not good.
No, that gives me hope.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah, that gives me hope.
I think out of the three of us, save for The Mandalorian, I tend to go into these with the most enthusiasm, these new Star Wars shows. So I'm hoping it's something cool that I think is a lot of fun.
It's an era we've never seen. It's the High Republic. It's that new chapter. It's like it's a couple of years before the prequels. So
I'm all for it.
We'll see.
We'll finally get to see a good handful of Jedis running around and see if that, if indeed that works, or is like, oh, it's much, much cooler if we have one or two of them that do it as opposed to 50. Because at 50, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I'm waiting for it. I want it. I want to be happy. Damn it. Just let me be happy. Can you make me happy, Disney? God, please try. Next week, we're getting into, it's April, everybody. April is around the corner, and as such, it's spring. And with spring, we're going to do a little bit of spring cleaning. We're going to go back and check out some of the things that may have passed while we were doing this past month here and everything. And we're going to start April spring cleaning off with Roadhouse from 2024. They have remade Roadhouse, and guess what? The reviews are pretty decent. People are saying some good things about it, so I'm interested in checking this out. And of course, the original is a classic. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that, and we want to hear your thoughts about all those things too. Patreon.com/HMP, the best way to do that. Get yourself pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, and all that good stuff. So join us next week when we're talking Roadhouse from 2024 for the Hartford Hellion Suite. Sean Kovacs from the internet. Bruce Leslie, I'm Matt Borges. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.
Can't stop thinking about you.